I have been reflecting on suffering this week. Suffering is the experience of distress, pain, or hardship that affects a person physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. There are so many examples of suffering. If I go to war and kill other men, then I suffer with those experiences until I pass from this world. If I grow up in poverty, I may still have many good memories, but I may remember the suffering of going to bed hungry and seeing the pain in my parents' eyes. If I'm depressed in this world of seemingly endless, happy and successful people, I suffer. I could go on and on with examples. Everyone suffers in varying degrees at different stages of their lives. And so today I may ask you this: what is your pain? And you may answer me, my pain is this, or my pain is that. Or for now, at this juncture, the pain is less and my pain was this or was that. Suffering, I tell you, is unavoidable. And you may try and avoid it by avoiding people and making your life safe, but you're just changing the pain. Isolation is not life. Now, in Genesis chapter 40, we find a man suffering. Genesis chapter 40 is not a dramatic chapter. There no major miracles, no sudden reversals, no triumphant resolutions. This chapter addresses not suffering that ends quickly, but suffering that goes on and on and on, that lingers with no light at the end of the tunnel. It addresses not suffering that makes sense, but suffering that makes no sense. You see, Joseph is in prison for doing the right thing. And if you will remember well, Joseph is sold into slavery, rises through integrity in Egypt, resists Potiphar's wife, and is then falsely accused. So, Joseph's not suffering because of foolishness, laziness, or rebellion, or sin. He's suffering precisely because he was faithful. That doesn't even make sense, does it? And for this he has received chains, obscurity, isolation, and silence. This truth that I've shared must take you from the thoughts of a child to the thoughts of an adult. There is no get out of suffering free card. It doesn't exist. Life includes suffering, and if you are living it, well, then you will have suffering. Obedience to God will not shield you from suffering. In fact, sometimes obedience places you directly in its path. Joseph suffered injustice and he was imprisoned unjustly. He suffered obscurity. He's forgotten. He's no longer visible. He suffered delay. Joseph interprets the dreams accurately. He helps others. He's such a nice guy. However, he's not remembered. Yet, here's the thing. Joseph does not respond negatively to his pain. In the end, it's all about your response to suffering. This is the point. He's not cynical, like, why bother doing good if it changes nothing? He's not bitter. Why am I suffering and no one else is suffering? He doesn't withdraw. He doesn't fall into despair. Joseph's response is striking precisely because it's ordinary faithfulness. I tell you this, ordinary faithfulness is one of the most beautiful things in this world. He continues to serve God in the middle of his pain. He continues to serve. And don't miss that Genesis chapter 40 ends with forgetfulness. Genesis chapter 41 begins 2 years later. In other words, Joseph must wait 2 years before he's remembered, before he's drawn up out of prison. 2 long years. Now I take 4 very brief lessons from Genesis chapter 40 for your pain. And then I close. Lesson number 1, God's delay is not a denial. Joseph is forgotten in this world, but not forsaken by God, because God's plans are playing out. You're never forsaken despite your pain. Your faith must kick in. Your faith will take you to staying faithful in what is right and good. Lesson number 2, faithfulness matters even when you're not noticed. Your character is molded in obscurity and in suffering and in pain. You know this. No pain, no gain. So embrace your pain. Use your pain positively to deepen who you are. Don't be a shallow person. Deepen. Seek God. In other words, don't waste your pain. Lesson number 3, God's plan is bigger, larger than your immediate relief. Joseph's suffering is not merely about Joseph, it's about the preservation of many lives. Israel, your pain always has a purpose to bless others, your family, your friends, your community. Reflect, therefore, on how your pain shapes you to bless others. Move from self-pity to the endurance that is focused on blessing others. Lesson number 4, the last lesson, Genesis chapter 40 points forward to Christ. Joseph is innocent and imprisoned. Jesus is sinless and condemned. Joseph helps others while suffering. Jesus saves others through suffering. Joseph is pointing you to Christ. In your pain, seek Christ. Seek Christ. I close. The Austrian psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who survived Nazi concentration camps, wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." It's true. The way you respond to your suffering is everything. I'll give you an example. When Joni Eareckson Tada dove into a shallow water, at 17, she broke her neck. She was paralyzed from the shoulders down. The early years for her after her neck was broken were not triumphant, but anguished, pain marked by depression, anger, and prayers for healing that went unanswered. She didn't get the miracle. Yet over time, something deeper than physical recovery began to take place. She learned to paint with a brush in her mouth. She began to speak, to write, to serve others with disabilities. The paralysis did not disappear, but despair did not have the final word. Here's the thing, what changed was not her body, but her response, her being. Her wheelchair became not a prison, but a platform. May your pain also become, for you, a platform for a deeper, more mature, changed you. May God bless you so. Amen.